George and Lisa for giving us an update on the rail trail bridge.
Yep.
We don't have a quorum yet, so, but you can
Yeah.
start with that, right? All right, you want to do the previous minutes first? All right, can I get a motion on the previous minutes? Paul, second? All in favor? Aye. Thank you for coming tonight and giving us this update on this very important situation.
Yep. Chair, thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. My name is George Penn. I'm Director of Operations for Albany County. To my right is Commissioner Lisa Ramundo, Commissioner of DPW, and we're going to, brief you in the status of the Rail Trail Bridge. So, what we know as of today, that the bridge has been shored up. The demo company, Sessler, is on site. They plan to start their demolition of the bridge in the next day or so, and should be a 2 to 3 day job. So hopefully maybe by the end of this week, we'll have the bridge cut down and it will be stored at the Voorheesville DPW sites for an unspecified period of time, I guess, correct? Yeah. Right now, work has started. Work right now is ongoing on Route 85, and I know that seems to be the big question for everybody because it's the main corridor to get people into work. So Betty and Kring is working extremely fast and hard to get the drainage system in for the state. The state has contracted with the county to put in their pipes and alleviate any future flooding of the area and drainage issues. However, once demo starts, that work will have to stop, right? Because the demo company will be there cutting out the steel. Once they're done, they'll go back to fixing the drainage. And I believe that should be done and one lane should be opened up around mid-August. So we'll be going back to what we had back in I think June, correct?
Yeah.
Where we had the one lane of 85 open, I think from 8 or 6 to 10, 6 a.m.
6 a.m. to 10 a.m. eastbound.
So we're doing that. Also, while this is all going on, we have contracted or looking to contract with a company called Acro. Acro is a company that supplies municipalities with temporary bridges. So they have a bridge that they will be leasing to us for about 9 months. And it'll be 140 foot long. It will have.
Will that cost us money, or will the contractor be paying for this?
So we
I know
will
Paul's
probably.
asked about this.
We will probably have to pay up front until we figure out and get, so we've also engaged an engineer to do a report for us, and hopefully we'll have that within the next 7 working days or so, probably by the end of next week, should have it, so that we can go forward and see what happened to the bridge. Was it a design flaw? Was it bad steel? I mean, we're waiting for this report, and this report will dictate a lot of next steps. So to answer, I think that answers your
So
question.
basically, like, what I've heard Lisa, it's in law right now, and they're reviewing it?
The report?
I mean, about who's gonna pay for this thing that screwed up?
So I think we will be paying up front and getting, I don't want to say reimbursed, but we'll be getting our money back from whoever was at fault.
We're gonna work on it.
Yes. All the insurance companies have been contacted. We've contacted ours. I know that they're having discussions. We are going to have our own report done by Colliers Engineering, and they're going to supply us a report which will kind of dictate next steps. What was the
So basically, right now, we're waiting to see all the parties work on it and see where it's gonna go from. We don't
Correct.
have any answers right now.
Correct.
Paul has a question.
I just didn't want
Oh,
to, so,
no,
so we're working on the bridge, right? Because that was another big aspect when this incident happened, that we wanted to keep, people on the rail trail happy, get that back in use as quickly as possible. So we're going to, get the temporary bridge up. We will, hopefully, we're talking, I think, probably by the end of September, have that bridge up and running. So, that will alleviate that one issue.
I mean, when, the bridge isn't gonna be fixed by then?
The bridge will be scrapped. So we're gonna have to cut that out. Again, we'll store it at DPW Voorheesville lot. And then hopefully, again, the report should be done by then. No, so probably a week later, a report will be done, and we'll see where, what our engineer says, what happens.
Thank you. Paul, you had a question?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I understand it, because I just got the two added RLAs late, but
Yep.
one of them is for $130,000 for the temporary, and I know you're going to go through this, but I think it helps wrap it all in perspective. You have the original bridge contract, which Betty and Crink was in the middle of, and MJ was the engineer. So we have obligations under that contract, although I don't know what our termination provisions are, those sorts of things. I assume laws looking at that now.
You're correct.
But there are people left to pay there that did work in good faith, not knowing that the bridge was going to fail. Then we have these two pieces, which is 477 between the two of them, I think.
Yep.
Which leases the new bridge and then pays Betty and Crink to pull out the old bad pieces, take them away into storage, and put the new temporary bridge up. But then, we got a whole new set of costs ahead of us, because once Colliers finds out what the design problem was, or what the problem was, it could be an installation problem, could be anything. Could be a subcontractor, whatever.
Bad steel,
Or
whatever.
bad steel, could be anything.
Yep.
From there, you determine who the responsible party is, and you have to determine what level of deep pocket they have. Do they have a performance and payment bond? Do they have a liability policy that's on primary to that? Do they have, if they're a design firm, how big is their errors and omissions coverage? All those sorts of things. So and I don't think anybody should be of the belief that this bridge, as we envisioned it, is gonna be up and running for another year. You just don't go to Amazon and click on a box and say, I want a new 140-foot span.
The temporary bridge will be.
The temporary bridge, but
Yes,
that
you're
doesn't,
correct.
yeah.
Yeah, the whatever the new bridge may be.
Yeah.
Is gonna take time to build, right?
To build
And
and then to
manufacture.
reinstall
Correct.
and then to put concrete decking on it again and
Correct.
do all the finished trades that it needs.
Commissioner?
Yes.
You know, the impact on these businesses is enormous. Who's gonna, is there any way for them to file a claim against whoever's at fault?
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
lack of businesses,
So-
they've been damaged out there.
I mean, that's an excellent question. Excuse me. And that's something we can bring back to law to see what the recourse is. In fact, when Lisa and I were on site today, we actually just met a guy who happened to rent out the Village Deli?
Yes.
Village Deli and Pizzeria. He's reopening. And he was like, and so we tried to, kind of say, don't worry about things, we're moving quickly and, but yeah, it's a great question. We can bring back the law.
That said, the original construction completion date for the project was October 31st, and that was communicated at the beginning of the project. And then we realized some efficiencies during construction, so then the date was moved to Labor Day. And then with this, we're thinking it's not gonna take until October 31st to get the new bridge in. That'll be up, the temporary bridge will be up likely by the end of September. So in the big picture, we're still ahead of schedule as far as reopening the bridge goes, if that, as far as like businesses go.
And again, the traffic flow on 85 will be hopefully by the end of September, could, I believe, have both lanes open, correct?
Yep.
I mean, as far as money and stuff like that's concerned, we're too early to figure that out, right?
I believe so, yes, because I know that, my understanding, MJ submitted some kind of paperwork to their insurance companies, just like as soon as this happened, I contacted Law, who contacted our insurance companies, Betty and Kring contacted their insurance companies, so, you know, hopefully, like I said, hopefully another week or so, well, next Friday, hopefully we'll have some kind of report that, you know, will shed some light.
All right, well, if you have a report, please get it out to all the county legislators, and then if we need to have you back next month to talk to us. Are there any other questions? Bill?
Yeah. Hi.
How you doing?
Hello. That's my district.
Mhm.
Chris's district is beyond, so we both are dealing with the issue of traffic flows and that kind of thing. We all care about these issues of cost.
Mhm.
And I just hope that our insurance and liability language in our contracts is good, and I know that's what our lawyers are looking at. But this is a huge hit, and I find it very distressing. This was a project that I was really looking forward to be done. Lisa knows all about that. And it's so, there are two different things here. One is just the total cost implication for the county, but the other is, the one thing I haven't heard discussed so far is, we put up the temporary bridge, so people are using the rail trail, which my family uses every day. And then when the final bridge is done, or the replacement steel and all that is
Mhm.
done, will that be installed? So two questions. One is, when would that be installed? How much delay would that be for the traffic coming on 85? But then, secondly, do we have to wait until all the legal issues of who's liable and who's gonna pay before that gets installed? Or is that something where you're saving the evidence at the DPW facility and we can go ahead and you know, get the real bridge up as soon as possible and then worry about the legal and the lawsuits and insurance and all that stuff later?
Excuse me, I think you guys said you're gonna put the bridge up, and we're gonna deal with it afterwards.
Well, the temporary bridge will be
Yes.
going up by the end of
But
September.
I don't mean temporary, I mean the final.
And from my understanding, it's gonna be about 9 months, right, before the bridge can be manufactured and whatnot. I would assume during that process, insurance companies are talking to each other, the attorneys are talking to each other, and hopefully, you know, I think the optimistic view is that it's a clear issue on somebody's part, and maybe it won't go to litigation, I guess, I'm trying to get to.
Well, sometimes litigation seems to take forever in this country.
I agree.
And I hope we're not in that situation where we're waiting for months and months, and maybe years before this is all resolved.
I think everybody shares your same feeling. I mean, that's, I don't.
I mean, George and Lisa, I mean, it seems like we just don't have any answers right now.
What we have
Maybe you
is,
guys came in and talked.
everything I have, I've just shared with you. I don't have anything more, you know, and obviously, you know, the county attorney said, you know, where we're at, you know, we can only say so much. And that's why I want to keep referring to that report. Hopefully that will be here, you know, by the end of next week or a little shortly thereafter. But, you know, that will shed light in the direction of where we would go.
We got one more question over here.
Yeah, I just, you know, it's a shame that it happened, and luckily we didn't have anyone killed on this, while this was being done. And I just hope we can get this thing resolved as soon as possible,
Mhm.
because there are businesses out there, people use this to go back and forth to Albany, and it's a shame that it happened.
So that temporary bridge, I mean, it's gonna be fully functional so that, God forbid, that, you know, it does get a little protracted. People can still use the bridge, the roads will be open, you know, and we just have to figure, you know, get the bridge manufactured.
Can we communicate with our constituents a little bit better? So that Bill and Mr. Smith there can communicate to their constituents out there that
Sure.
what's happening.
Mhm.
This is a time
I'll
for as
pull
much
Ray over here
transparency as
first,
possible.
then Paul, you'll be next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is it possible that it was human error?
Can you speak up a little bit?
Oh, I'm sorry, is it possible that it was human error, or have people who have looked at the situation definitely feel that it was a material error, yeah?
Yeah, Ellen, I am gonna say we just gotta wait for the
Okay.
report, you know?
Paul?
I want to kind of pick up on where I think Joe and Bill left off. If we got to pay for the completion first, okay? And if this goes into litigation, you're going to litigate against one party, that party is going to implead other people and say there's comparative negligence, and this is going to go on for some time. Where do we draw funds from? Do we, I know we have a debt service reserve fund, I know we have, maybe that's a question for Mr. Riley.
You know where I'm
If
looking.
all of a sudden we had to come up with $5 million that we didn't have budgeted anyplace else, anticipating that there would be some remuneration in the future, where would we get that from on a short-term basis? to complete
So
the job?
for the shorter term basis, we've worked out with the comptroller's office. We're gonna set up basically a contract account in the D fund, which is the Public Works Fund, to keep the books kind of cleaner that way. We're gonna allow that line to run negative for the time being. Thankfully, we're at a nice position a nicer position cash-wise than we've probably been in the past 3 or 4 decades. So we have cash on hand to cover this. And hopefully the lawyers, I forget which legislator said it, that this process moves along slowly, or quickly, that it's not dragged down, you know, with lawyers and legal actions and things like that.
Thank you. Are there any more questions?
I have one.
Go ahead.
Hey, George, can you assuage my fears and let me know how long a temporary bridge's lifespan is?
Well,
I can speak to that. I've been talking with the manufacturer, and this is a temporary bridge that's actually designed for traffic. It's a 12-foot wide bridge that is designed for, actual vehicle traffic. And I was assured that it's got, like a 50-year life.
Oh, okay, so
It's
it's
not-
not
it's
gonna
not-
expire 12 months. from
correct,
now.
yeah, it's not
Oh,
gonna
that's
disintegrate or
fine.
anything.
Okay,
Yes.
just saying.
No.
There was one more question over here. Bill?
First of all, I want to apologize, I interrupted.
Oh, no, it's fine.
I jumped ahead of your
It's fine.
recognition. I just want to make a plea that you be as transparent as possible. Share with all of us the information as you get it, so that we can all share it with our constituents. They
Yeah.
all care because there's money involved, but especially Chris and I care because of, and Vicky Plotsky, who also represents Bartle New Scotland. All of those districts, go through on 85 every day. I watch them line up in front of my house to commute into work. So they would all appreciate as much transparency as possible. And as soon as these issues of responsibility and what all are resolved,
Mhm.
please let us know.
yeah,
It's just kind of good government, transparency, and that's what we need right now.
yes, we will.
Thank you guys for being here, but we're gonna move now to item 6, which it has to do with the bridge stuff. If that's,
I will note that these were added to Granicus this afternoon, and you have been provided hard copies as well if needed.
Okay.
so,
Can you tell me, I have 2 items, and I don't know which one is item
I'm
number
sorry,
6.
if you could just speak up a little bit, you're just so quiet.
Sure. Which item is item number 6? Because I
Excuse me. Rebecca's
I'll
gonna
tell
read
you.
it.
Oh.
All right, item 6 is amending resolution number 147 for 2022 as amended regarding construction services for the Albany County Rail Trail over New Scotland Road Bridge Replacement Project. This is the second amended agreement with Betty and Craig.
Okay, yes. So this amendment is for the additional work that it's going to take to have the bridge removed and the new temporary bridge put into place. The total additional amount is $346,000, and that all of that work is going to be done by Betty and Craig. So basically, once they finish this work, the temporary bridge will be in place.
Are there any questions? Paul?
One question. Do you have sort of like landmarks or able to drop a pin where we are in the project so we know what Betty and Crink has done to date? Because all this is for extra work.
Yes.
So you have a giant line in the sand that says
Yes.
you paid for up until this date, now we go into emergency contract mode.
That's what the defund line,
Okay,
was it Dave that was talking about that?
yeah.
Yeah,
But I
that's
mean, I
what that
assume,
line.
are there still progress payments?
Oh,
in
yes.
the
So-
line? I mean, there's,
To be honest, so
the
we.
spigot isn't off yet. I
No,
mean, for the
so
old project.
basically, we've got our original contract
Yeah.
that we have to pay for all of the work that they were expected to do to complete the bridge. So sadly, we're having to pay them for the steel that we have to remove. We have to pay them for the fencing that was supposed to be put on the steel that they haven't put on yet, but they've ordered. So things like that are being taken out of the actual project account. And then the line in the sand starts with this stuff, the temporary bridge and any extra work that it's going to take for them to open things up.
Are we able to subtract out the work that they haven't done yet?
If they haven't ordered it, yes. Like if they
Or
haven't.
if they haven't ordered it or they haven't performed the labor?
Yes, if they haven't performed the labor or ordered it, we could. But
Oh.
they already did order the fence.
Okay. But is there, I mean, I assume they didn't pour 1/3 of the deck and there's a lot to do after you pour the deck,
We
so-
did, that's a loss to us because they had all of the concrete trucks ready
Yeah.
to pour. So they incurred that cost. So that's not a piece. Pretty much, we're having to pay them for all of that.
But we're gonna try to get all that money back,
Well,
correct?
yeah,
yes.
From our insurance and
Yes.
stuff.
But I guess what I was trying to figure out, is there anything you can save by looking at the contract language, knowing where we are, where you can say, don't do this, don't do this, don't do that, and then we can take that off of
We
their
were
contract balance?
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. We were pretty much done. I mean, they were pouring the deck. And so basically, all they had left to do was seed, grade, tidy up both ends. We were ahead of schedule. So that, there's really,
What she's told us, law has it, so that's their gig,
Yeah, but
to
it's,
figure out what to do, not for us to
But
try
they-
to tell Lisa what to do.
no.
they're not going to charge us for work that they are not doing. Put it that way.
That's what
Yeah,
I
Betty
want-
and
that's
Craig
what I
isn't
wanted
gonna
to
charge
hear.
us
Yeah,
for line
there's
items.
some savings here, maybe this much, but there's something.
And I think it's in the law department right now, so I think we move forward, and hopefully when they come back, we'll be all even. Another question? Or a motion?
Question actually,
Okay.
and this might have been answered already, but like, I'm not saying Betty and Crane were at fault or nobody was at fault, but is it a normal act to have the person that installed removing the damaged thing too? I mean, should a different company do it?
Well, so both MJ and Betty and Crane were involved in the process of getting the demo company on board. And what's happening is the demo company is, cutting it in very specific spots so that if either of the parties wanted to examine any given piece, that the piece they want to examine is intact. So, is it?
Well, I'm just like in the building world, if something fails, the person that installed it's not allowed to touch it because they can.
According to law.
Right. I might be saying it wrong,
Yeah,
but they
no,
shouldn't be near it because
But
they
since
forgot
we
to weld
don't,
something.
but
they
since
can
we
hurt
don't know
everything.
anything yet,
Right.
how do we pull somebody off a project?
Right.
Because I've asked the same question.
So-
and The county attorney said,
As
let
long
it
as there's no
continue.
legality or.
I don't think it's, there's different things that could have caused it, right? And there's photographs in every which way of what's there.
I'm sure you checked it, I was just curious.
Yeah.
It seemed weird, that's all.
Yeah,
Lisa, didn't you just say, though, that you are directing them where to cut, where to make it into pieces? It sounds to me like what you're doing, but correct me if I'm wrong, is you're making sure that as evidence, it stays valid. That
that's,
if there's a question about one weld that might have failed or whatever, you're not cutting that weld. You're cutting somewhere else, so that when you take it and put it into storage, all the evidence is still good.
that's the reason. Yeah, that was,
That's what I thought I heard you say.
yes, that's what the whole point is. And that's why we're keeping everything on our site so that
Right.
the parties can have, the ability to examine it at a later time.
I'll make a motion. I mean, we need to do it.
We got a motion, do we have second? We got a second, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? It passed unanimously. Thank you. All right.
Item 7 is the second additional item. It is authorizing an agreement with ACRO regarding a temporary bridge for the Albany County Rail Trail over New Scotland Road.
We got a
Yes.
motion?
Motion ready.
Motion, do we have a second? All in favor? All opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Good
then
night.
we're going to go back to item 2. Item 2 is authorizing a utility easement to Niagara Mohawk Power Corporation and Verizon New York for the installation of a new pole at the Department of Public Works' Knox subdivision.
Hi.
Motion? Need a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Thank you.
All right, item 3 is amending the 2023 Department of Public Works budget for overtime.
Motion, second? Second, Bill? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved.
Item 4 is authorizing an agreement with Creighton Manning Engineering for design and construction inspection services regarding the County Road 2 over Fox Creek Bridge replacement project in the town of
We
Bern.
got a motion, a second? Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved.
Item 5 is actually a different, authorizing a license agreement with the Mohawk Hudson Land Conservancy regarding the installation of a painted mural on county property on the Albany County Rail Trail in the town of Bethlehem. Cam Sagan is here.
Motion, second?
Second.
You need second?
All right.
I know what it's gonna look like, come on.
Well, thank you.
I want to hear him say something.
Well, I
Wait,
do
man,
appreciate you
come on,
guys
this
taking
is
the
my
time.
district. I want to hear something.
It's
We
gonna
have a
add
motion.
some
We have a
life to that
second.
area. The rail trail.
Superman has spoken. So,
Oh, sorry.
All right, Bill, what's your question?
Oh, not a question. I just think it's great. I'm not quite sure how the graphic of the mural works, but I trust you're gonna make it.
Yeah, I apologize because it might show up black and white, but this is actually the color scheme of it. And you're familiar with the location, right? The Sling on the Trailhead.
Thank you. We have a motion, we have a second? Second, Bill, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Motion to adjourn? Second, all in favor?